ESPN analyst sees familiar issues with Shedeur Sanders. Cleveland Browns rookie quarterback Shedeur Sanders has been on a roller coaster since the 2025 NFL Draft. Incorrectly, some could argue irresponsibly, projected to be a high first-round selection, Sanders fell to the fifth round before the Browns selected him with the number 144 overall pick. Sanders' drop can be attributed to one of two things. He played in a simplified offense in college at Jackson State and Colorado. While Sanders had success, NFL offenses are more complicated, and it can take time to learn. A conspiracy that was allegedly hatched by the NFL to ensure Sanders would go undrafted, with the intention of teaching him a lesson, only for the NFL to panic and order the Browns to select him in the fifth round. The call for Sanders to be named the Week 1 starter intensified after Cleveland's first preseason game against the Carolina Panthers. Sanders had a good, not great, performance that day, one that gave him something to build on. Unfortunately, an oblique strain kept Sanders out of the preseason game against the Philadelphia Eagles, and then came Saturday's very bad day against the Los Angeles Rams, where Sanders finished 3 of 6 14 yards, took 5 sacks, and looked like anything but a quarterback ready to start a regular season game. That created a new firestorm that we will not be exploring here. A basic Google search will reveal everything you need to know about that topic, but we do want to share what is a completely reasonable take on Sanders from ESPN's Dan Orlovsky. Everything that was a negative about Sanders' game at Colorado was on display against the Rams. Holding the ball too long, not reading the defense, running backward from the pass rush, not utilizing his checkdown receiver, and so on. Orlovsky also pointed out that while fans see what happens during the preseason games, the Browns see everything, from practice to film work and meetings, which is all included in the evaluation. And unless the wheels completely come off the offense, always a possibility with the Browns, or injuries hit the position hard, Orlovsky does not believe Sanders will see the field this fall. That may wind up as the headline for many of Sanders' fans, but the true takeaway is that everything that went wrong for Sanders is fixable. From the moment he arrived in Cleveland, he has put in the work and done everything that has been asked of him, which is a huge positive in his favor. There is no shame in admitting that a player selected late on the third day of the draft needs to refine his game. It may not come as quickly as some were expecting, but it is clear what Sanders needs to work on. It is now up to him to find out how to make it all work. They say television has a smell, ozone and coffee and the quiet metallic whine of tense hot mics. And on the day the analyst spoke, that smell filled the studio like weather. The graphic behind him blinked. ESPN, QB Watch. He didn't need the cheerin' to tell him who the story belonged to. Shedeur Sanders' name sat heavy on the table like a blunt instrument everyone kept passing around. The analyst, a man who'd spent seasons parsing pocket mechanics between commercials and could read a quarterback's anxiety in the tilt of a shoulder, leaned forward and folded his hands like someone folding a map he knew by memory. He didn't shout. Critics shout. Analysts ask the room to listen. He wanted the tape heard, not the tweet. "Look," he began, soft as a whistle and precise as a metronome. "This isn't about one game. It's about a pattern. I've seen variations of this since I started watching kids leave college and walk into pro stadiums with headlines in their pockets." He named the pattern not to condemn, but to diagnose. Quick eyes that missed the rush, steering feet that forgot to anchor, and a reliance on the spectacular to paper over the ordinary necessities of winning. He spoke like an anthropologist unwrapping a ritual. The Rams tape, the sacks, the scramble that ended in a benching, the 2-minute substitution that made fans holler, was a single incident, but also a mirror. In that mirror, the analyst saw a familiar silhouette. The talented prospect who can throw lasers at will, but who, when the blitz arrives, seems to forget how to keep his spine inside the play. The analyst's voice hummed with both exasperation and that odd, reluctant affection veterans feel for their successors. "Talent is a currency," he said, "but you spend it poorly if you don't protect the account." He drew a subtle line between college and the pros, not a line of indictment, but of geometry. In college, systems are often simpler, stars get the ball earlier, and mistakes get swallowed by schemes designed around one player's brilliance. In the NFL, the margin between a touchdown and a sack is a practice rep and 1,000 film rooms. The analyst pointed to the film, a quarterback who still reads second-level progressions like they're optional, who occasionally lets a play live longer than the protection will allow. "You can't teach instincts overnight," he admitted, "but you can make good habits unbreakable." Within the studio bubble, the conversation shifted. Callers wanted binary verdicts: bench him, start him, trade him, but the analyst refused the comfort of absolutes. Instead, he offered a checklist, pragmatic and kindless, like a surgeon's instructions. Faster footwork, lower center of gravity in the pocket, recognition drills against simulated pressures, and the kind of brutal honesty from veteran teammates that feels like salt in a wound until it closes it. He recommended mentorship, not celebrity mentorship, but the old-school quarterback room apprenticeship, where a player's shoulder is clapped in film sessions and corrected in the weight room. There was also a cultural paragraph in his monologue. The pressure that came with a famous name in a small, hungry market. He said nothing inflammatory. He simply noted that expectation is a wind that can push or topple, and that players with pedigrees often have to learn two trades at once: the mechanics of the game and the management of a narrative. The louder the buzz, he said, the easier it is to mistake audience for evidence. Yet his critique never climbed into cruelty. When he delivered the sharpest lines, they were tempered with the thing that makes sports talk salvageable: the belief in redemption. "I've seen guys who looked rawer than this become textbooks," he said. He pulled up a clip, not to humiliate but to show the elasticity of potential. A completion under duress from another era, another kid who learned the long way. The camera caught his face, and for a beat, the studio felt like a classroom. Fans at home parsed his words, amplifying them into their own verdicts. Social feeds bubbled with both anger and shielding defense. Some wrote off the analyst as another voice in the pile. Others found comfort in the scrutiny because it meant someone was paying attention to the plumbing, not just the paint. In bars and living rooms, the same question circulated like a coin. Can raw talent be disciplined into reliability, or will it always flicker like a marquee short on screws?